phone that's on there. But I'm Rob Dewar. I am currently the current liaison and also serve as program advisor. And so as a result, each week I'm meeting with Jake and Adam. We're talking through a whole bunch of different things. And during our most recent conversation came up, it's like, what are some things that we can be doing to make sure that our coaches are empowered to be as successful as they can be, and make sure that the lines of communication and development are always open. So this was kind of a product of that conversation, and decided we go ahead and throw this out there. You baseball guys, you guys have had baseball school previously. And so this is kind of a spin-off of that, where we want to be an open dialogue. We're going to get together weekly for the time being, but we want to make sure that this time is productive, and we will be limited to 30 minutes. So we want to make sure that we're respectful of your time, and all got stuff going on. So make sure that if you can't join right away at 9, that's cool. Join us at 9:15. We'll still be talking, and we'll be accessible, however and whenever we need to. So goals are just make sure that we've got a good conversation going, questions, talk about positionals, planning, um, practice planning, whatever it is that could be possibly going on. We want this to be an avenue for you guys to be able to ask questions. And it's also a good avenue for us to be able to send out those reminders about like uniform stores and and different things that are happening from an organizational standpoint. So during the meeting, if you guys have questions, I believe that the chat option is there. If you're not familiar with Zoom, it's down at the bottom of the screen on your PC. I think you have to swipe if you're on a phone, but use the chat. You can type in questions. That way, Jake and Adam, as they're talking, and we just don't have people talking over each other and everything. And I will be moderating each week. So I will have access to chat, and we'll be making sure to ask those questions, get everything taken care of. And then along with that, please make sure you stay muted. We all have family going on in the background, favorite TV shows, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we're able to focus while we're here, get things taken care of. So that's just kind of where we are. So this week we are going to be focusing on practice planning. And to kind of give you a good frame of reference on that, I did put together this slide just to show kind of what our purpose is here for tonight. Of course, we're doing the intro on purpose right now. We're going to talk about practice planning, and Adam and Jake are going to give us a lot of good ideas. Then we also want to hear from you. What do you need from us? What questions do you have? How can we help make sure that everything you need is there, so you are empowered to be the best that you possibly can be, and help our kids develop? So any questions you have, again, we want to hear them. But that's our agenda for tonight. And with that, Adam, Jake, the floor is yours.
Cool. Jake, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I don't care either way. I
Okay,
got mine
I'll go.
up.
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Our initial conversation about this started on Tuesday of last week. Just trying to make sure that we're as helpful for you guys now that we are as we could possibly can be now that we get outside and everybody's kind of separated. And the initial thing that kind of brought this up was trying to help people with practice plans as much as we can. We had a conversation about coach retainment, also attracting new coaches to the program, and one of the things that we've heard as sort of a negative about the program is I think that there is this perception out there that coaches in the program don't really have a ton of autonomy. And it's because we do so much and we have a lot going on and we try to teach a bunch and we have some things that we want you guys to kind of reciprocate on your ends as coaches. And we certainly don't want you guys to feel that way. We want to give you guys as much autonomy as we possibly can, but also give you as much autonomy as you want. So for me, kind of what I want to do weekly for these things, practice planning is, I think, is a big deal. And I think one of the main things that maybe I can do to kind of help, we can do as an organization is to kind of help is, you guys have the freedom to write whatever practice plans that you want. But if you guys want help with those, I think one of the simplest ways that we can help with that is just like every week, whenever I'm on here, I'm happy to share the practice plan that I have ready to go for the coming week. And that practice plan for when I make it, just so you guys know kind of where I'm coming from on these things. Depending on, there are things that I think are supremely appropriate and important to teach the kids in a practice based off of the time of year you are in. But there are also times in your practice plan where you as a team need specific things that maybe other teams won't specifically need. And so I think that there are avenues that you can go in multiple on these practice plans, just kind of dependent on your personal needs as a team, as well as kind of the things that you guys need, that maybe a whole organization of kids would need. So I have on the coach's classroom, put a tab in there for sample practice plans. I've uploaded two practice plans at this point. I'm going to end up uploading about three or four more. One of the practice plans that I have in there is a individual team practice plan that was from one of our four indoor practice plans that our 2031 team did. And then another one is a practice plan that I wrote out for a dual team practice on the field with our 2031 prime team. And I kind of wanted to at least just kind of go over that. Again, my initial intentions here is like, if any of you guys want to just take those practice plans, copy them, run the exact same thing week to week. Like I think that is completely fine. I think we all know that you guys are extremely busy. One of the hardest things to do with everything you guys have going on, not only with your work, your own kids, but all the other kids on the team, is actually have time to sit down and write down a detailed, thought out practice plan for like what the kids need most right now. Like you guys are obviously all very capable of doing that, but one thing that I want you guys to know is like we're very happy to do that for you from the very beginning, sort of like what we did during our positionals, during the indoor stuff of just like, hey, we already have this plan in place. This is what we think would be a really appropriate thing to teach right now. And, I want to be able to offer that to you guys, as an option for you guys if you're not wanting to have to worry about writing your own practice plans week to week. So I don't have these set up in PDF form. I just kind of put them in here as pictures real quick just to be able to get them in here quickly. But I'm going to change it to where it's a downloadable, printable copy for you guys. But I went ahead and shared my screen here as sort of just an example of one of the practice plans that we did the last week, and I'm going to upload our one for Wednesday here tomorrow morning once I finalize this. Again, use this as much as you want, make changes, but this is just sort of a skeleton form as well as a mock of what we do on a regular basis. So I'll quickly go over this. And then I'll kind of end my spiel on practice plans, and then I'll let Jake kind of jump into his here. But for our practice plans, for our practice on a regular basis, we're going to be at least one practice a week that is a dual practice with our prime team in our 2031 age group for 2 hours at Greenwood Sports Park. Big believer in dual practices, especially once you get out onto the field. You'll kind of see why. I think those are beneficial as I kind of get into this practice plan. But the biggest reasons to focus on, I mean, I think are just I'm a huge believer in age group uniformity. I even have put in the coach's classroom just now as well a player handbook that I have provided for all of our 27 teams for ever since we kind of started up with those groups about 3 years ago, and a player handbook that I've sent out to all of our 2031 coaches as well. For me as a coach, I love the idea of every team in our age group having the same signs. I love all of us being on the same page. If anybody from our teams needs a sub week to week, it's just very easy to jump in there. Long term, I know Jake and I have talked about this a little bit. We love the idea of collective organizational group, like everybody having the same signs, that way if kids show up to a game, they can be able to watch the game, know exactly what the coach is calling and know exactly what is going on. I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of good power in that. And as far as that uniformity and keeping everybody on the same page, again, you guys do not have to do that, but I have placed our handbook in the coach's classroom, and in that it has all offensive and all defensive signs that honestly Jake and and I have pretty much the exact same signs outside of our bunt sign is one position different on the body. He does the belt and I do the shoulder. Outside of that, like literally everything is the exact same. We've done the exact same thing for 10 years. And again, it was just from that uniformity standpoint. And so I encourage everybody to take a look at those. Feel free to use those if you'd like. They're very simple and I can talk through those at any point. So age group uniformity is huge. Organizational uniformity is, and that's why I like these dual practices. So for us, our practices will always be the same from the very first minute of the practice till we get done with our Aussies, yachties, and our willies. So we will always start out with our run, stretch, throw. With our running and our stretching, we do 2x2 running from a foul pole, just like we did in the preseason fall camp. We've had a dynamic warm up that we've done there, but in the interest of brevity and having a shortened practice on shortened time frame on a field and having a lot to do, as well as having to get warmed up pregame, I have our players run 2x2 in an organized fashion. It's just a lot, very similar to what you'll see in like Japanese baseball. They go 2x2 in about an 8 foot span between groups on the warning track. They go all the way down, all the way back. Once they get back, they circle up and they stretch. I always have our catchers, just personally, are the ones that are leading that stretch routine. I want them practicing using their voice and being loud and leading and directing the entire team. Once they get into that, we're directly into our throwing program. You can see that on here. I have that listed as our daily vitamins and our daily prescriptions. As we are moving out, our players are all doing the exact same thing. That goes from wrist flips to our figure eights to our core twists to our rockers and to our full throwing as we're letting it grow and as we're backing it up. Okay. And I like that back line, that line that's moving back to stay as organized and as together as we possibly can. Obviously, some players are going to ultimately maybe going a little longer than others, but I like the uniformity and keeping everybody organized. Once everybody is done reaching their max capacity for their long toss, and we start moving in, that is again where we go to our daily prescriptions. We have all of our catchers doing very catcher specific things. The first one that they'll do is they'll put the ball in their glove and they'll act like they're throwing to second. So they'll come up from a squatted secondary position, come up and make a throw to their partner like they're throwing to second base. They'll do three of those each and continue to move in with each throw. The very next one is they'll square up to where their catcher is in line with their glove side shoulder, as if they're a third baseman, and they'll do a drop step and like they're throwing to third. They'll do three of those. They'll come in, and then the very last one they'll do for their prescriptions are putting the ball on the ground, getting down in a finished block position, hopping up, recovering the ball, and making the throw to their partner. We have specific designed ones for catchers, for infielders, and for outfielders. We also have those for pitchers on the baseball side. Jake can maybe speak to whether or not there's anything specific that pitchers can do on the softball side of things. But long story short, Jake and I saw a team that was a big rivalry group, honestly, for us that we played against a bunch with our 2022 team. We played against them where they were warming up and we were warming up, and just quite honestly, we were watching them and we were just like, pretty introspective about it. We said, man, these guys look way more organized and way more prepared. Even though we were organized as well, it just looked at a higher level because we could see specific things people were doing based off of the position that they were going to play for that day. And so we have those designed out, and we asked that coach. We said, "Hey, like we love what you do. Would you mind sending it to us?" They sent it to us, and we haven't looked back since. And our the college coaches that come and watch our pregame love it because they get to see these players doing position specific things as they're warming up, and you'd see that if you go and watch any high level team warming up at the collegiate or the professional level. So. We get all the way through that, and then we jump into our Aussies, Yachties, and our Willies. For us, the beginning of the practice is exactly the same every single time, from the beginning of the run, stretch, throw, all the way to the ending of our Aussies, Yazzies, and our Willies, and then we jump into our base running. My goal each time is for within those 30 minutes, we're able to get through this portion and it be well organized to the point to where by the time we get out and we're actually full game, this isn't something we have to necessarily babysit until we get into our base running running routine where we'll do either traditional leads or we'll do practice our vaulting leads. But we practice, a couple of people have asked some questions about the modern leads, and we can answer some questions on that later on. We practice this every single practice. There is specifically 10 to 15 minutes that is set aside for us to work on practicing our vaults and challenging them and making it more difficult. So, after that, once we get through that first portion, that first 30 minutes, that first 30 minutes for us, every practice is exactly the same. Then I jump into from there what I feel is most necessary for our team to be working on for that given day. So for us specifically, last week, it was the first time we were out on a field. We have already covered indoors our bunt coverages. We've covered first and third offense and defense and how that is supposed to run to give them a good brief introduction of that. My main goal on our very first outdoor practice was to get these players at their positions, see them moving the ball around, and start seeing some more game-like reps while utilizing some of those things that we've already covered on the in the indoor portion. What you'll notice about any of the practice plans that you see me put together, specifically, again, this is a personal preference for me. When our teams get out when I coach a practice, when we get out to whether it's an indoor or an outdoor, for me, there's very little drill work going on when it comes to like the defensive side of things. I think there is certainly some time to do that if you guys need to retouch up and retweak some things. Like, but I would say for my recommendation on that would be like if you're going to be doing ladder work for footwork for infield, if you're going to be doing specific like cone drills for the outfield, they have their place. For us, as a program that doesn't get to have like high school kids, high school, they get to practice 5 days a week right now. We get to practice one, maybe two. There's a place for that. They need to be the players, our players, when it comes to our program, probably need to be working on making sure they're doing that as much as they can on their own. That way, when you guys get on the field, you can do more broad team concepts like first and third offensive and defense, defensive cutoffs and relays, fly ball communication, run down defense, stuff like that. When we get out in our practices, I like things to be as much of a scrimmage type of environment as we possibly can, even if we are teaching a new concept. So this last week we got everybody out to a good in and out for a double triple fungo for their first time out on the field, moved them around, and then we moved into basically a 21 out scrimmage where the players were not hitting themselves. When we get out on the field, I think it's a terrible time also for, as much as I'm an offensive guy, where it's not a time to be having team batting practice. It's a huge waste of time. The kids also need to be hitting on their own during that 2 hours that you guys get throughout the week. You need to be focusing on more broad concepts. So we did a 21 outs situation where one team would run the bases. Those coaches from that team would coach the bases, and a coach from the defensive team would test their defense by hitting singles, doubles, ground balls, you name it, right? But then each inning as we went on, we placed a runner at first base, or runners on first and second, or runners on first and third, and started doing some more scrimmage type things for that first practice. For our next practice this week, we've already covered some rundown defensive concepts, and I'm happy to talk through how at least I coach rundown defense. Jake may coach it differently. Some other people might coach it. Everybody has sort of their own preferences there, with a lot of similarities there, but we've already gone through that. Next practice, we're going to be doing rundown defensive competition, but utilizing live situations where we'll put runners on first and third, and we'll have the offense trying to score that run while the defense is trying to shut down the run game by doing good rundown defense and practicing our first and third defense there. So for me, it was a combination of this is the things that I feel like probably all of our players should be working on at this point in the season, with games coming right around the corner, or just now starting already. But it was also something that I felt our team desperately needed because we haven't had the opportunity to do that in quite a long time. So in the indoors, I covered as much as I could, a lot of that stuff that I didn't want to have to spend a bunch of time talking about over while we were actually out on a field and utilizing that field space to the most of our advantage. And then out on the field again, putting that into more of a scrimmage type environment. So I've got last week's practice plan uploaded. Feel free to copy it. Feel free to download it and utilize it. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it when you guys have them. So that's my brief spiel on my practice plan for this week.
Love it. Well done. I have three that I'll talk through extremely quick and more general. Adam and I are very similar on a lot of this stuff. So he went into detail on some of it. I think like in general for both of us, the biggest key that probably saves both of us a lot of time in planning is all of our practices have a general shell outline. And it might look different based on practice times. It might look different based on your team, total number of players, if you have one team or two. But the reality is, if you can take your 2 hours, or we have three once a week, if you can take that 3 hours and you can segment it out into the things that you're going to work on in those 30 to 45-minute blocks, it makes it a lot easier to plug and play every single week. Okay, so for us, very similar. Arrive, cleats on, face mask lined, power hugs and greetings. We do visualization before every single practice, so they're on field for 4 minutes. We prompt them through that. Then they go through their dynamic warm up, really similar, 2x2 running. They have their full warm up. They do their Aussies, Yachties, everything right after that. Catch play. These have like in depth what we do. So Adam talked about vitamins and prescriptions. The way out would be the vitamins, what everybody is doing. The way in is the prescriptions. We have it based on position, so catcher first, other infielders, and then outfielders. You can also do this by player. Sometimes as the season progresses, like you have players who they might just stink at relays and they need more time on those. Like you do not have to do this in general by position. That could be more by player as well as needed. But we have all of that coming in. And it seems like a lot, and it is, but the reality is, like, even with 11-year-old softball players right now, we go out to practice, we are part of the Power Hugs as coaches, and then we do nothing. Like they literally talk their way through it. They know it's coming. They rotate together. They're calling out their receiving. So it's just setting the expectation, and it looks really clean. And catch play is obviously important. So that's our first 30 minutes. 5:30 to 6 is getting through that. And then on the baseball side, I agree. You should do modern or leadoff stuff every single day. Softball's a little bit easier. You just leave when they throw the ball and you run really fast. So we don't have to do as much on the base running side. So we go right into a positional breakdown. And this is where like we spend a little bit of time on skill development still, although it's not the main thing in season. So realistically, what's nice about having two teams is you have two sets of coaches. So we have 5 to 6 coaches at a practice between those two teams. We split them up by positions and essentially go 15 minutes of positional breakdown. So this week, catchers worked their receiving progression, pass ball, recovery, and then bunt defense and throws to bags. First baseman worked a flip square with all the infielders, and then we kind of split. They went into 180 picks when middle infielders and thirds went into some Zoid flow stuff. And then we finalized all of that with one hand lane, full fungo with throws across the infield. Outfielders were working gap to gap, getting behind it on routine balls, and then double drop step, jab step stuff of just increasing overall speed and athleticism. So we get through that. Now, the hard part for some of the youth sides is like this is a 15-minute segment that's really 30 because we work every single player at a primary and a secondary at every single practice. They don't necessarily have guaranteed game time at two different places, but they will practice there every week so that they're ready if we need them. And that way the parents stay happy that they're developing in different spots. So we run this same sequence twice through where players are essentially told their primary and their secondary, and they'll be at two different spots within it. So that's this part. Then for us, the next 45 minutes is like teaching time, the things that we need to put in, right? So that was positional grid system for outfielders, first and third offense and defense. And then we go into like a team defense or scrimmage style that's more controlled. So this was 9-ball team defense. 9-ball is pretty cool. It's a 6 setup. We kind of took it from Vittorio's V drill and ran with it a little bit. So essentially, you're hitting 9 balls in a row, and every single player on the field will get a ball that they're fielding. So like pitcher throws to catcher. Catcher starts it by throwing down to second for a steal. As that's happening, you hit fungo to pitcher, they're going 1. Then we hit fungo to left field, they're going 3. Ground ball to third going 1, short turn and 2, center going 3, second going 1, first turn and 2, right going 3. So you get through every fielder, but it's game style plays, and the different sequences are listed on this practice plan. That's why I'm not going through them in great detail. This is also in the coach's classroom. I added this one in there. So you guys can see all those different rounds that you can go through. We don't hit it practiced often. If we do, it's really more so for live defensive reads than it is for the hitters themselves. Like seeing a live ball off the bat when you don't know where it's going can be really important. So if we're hitting at practice, it's more so for the defensive side. And then we always end with some type of scrimmage. So this was an 18 outs, roll the dice drill. So we had two dice with us. One of the coaches would roll them. They'd tell me where to hit it. That way it's random and players don't pick up on where you're going to hit the next ball. So it was just random order, two teams competing back and forth in a 6 inning fungo game, essentially. We always have a thought of the day, something that we're going to ask the players at some point throughout the practice. We tell them in the beginning of the practice and then ask them throughout. And that's kind of what we fall back on. So it typically is something that they've struggled with if they're playing slow. They were that week, so it was want the ball, attack the ball, just the idea of getting after it. And then I share this with the other coaches for practice as well. And every player and family actually gets this like at least 24 hours before the practice, so they know what to expect. But we actually list per player where they're going for positional breakdown, like where they're going for each drill that they're in. So you're not standing at practice wondering where you're going to send people or what the rotations are or anything like that. Okay, so second one is really similar. Only difference was positional breakdown was different focuses. So we just did a bunch of live. They don't have to throw every ball. So this is our first time outside since the winter. So we fielded live in every lane, but they bucketed. Same thing for outfield. Pitchers had time for a bullpen. And same thing. They had 3 different rotations going through that before we went into some type of team defense. Again, this was more of a typical in and out, offensive and defensive first and thirds. And then we did a coach pitch scrimmage where we had every inning already outlined of where they were playing. Again, trying to see as much reactive live read type scrimmage stuff. We can plan on bunt rotations and first and thirds and relays and cutoffs and all the things, right? And what we found is you can do it and they'll learn it, but until they have to react and do it, they're not going to be able to do it in game. So teaching them those things, but then giving them more of a reactive type scrimmage, which is kind of fun as a coach. Like you don't know what you're going to coach, but you're going to have to coach things. And it's nice sometimes, like for the base runners, to say, "Hey, this is on you." Like we need to teach them to have the right instincts. They don't always need to be looking at the third base coach. The reality is, if the ball's in the left center gap, they can see it rounding second and make their own choice. Like they should know the game. So we have to encourage them to at least have some freedom in what they're doing with that. Last one is more on the indoor side in season. I'm a little bit different in season when things have to get moved indoors, especially on the youth side. We just played our first tournament. Saw some good things. Also had a pitcher, literally our ace starting pitcher, game one, rolls her ankle 5 minutes before the game, jumping up and down in excitement that she's about to start. So that changed everything. Not a great weekend after that. When you only carry 10 and you lose your ace, that does some things. But we got a lot of video, right? If you're doing game changer video, it's really nice. So I went back today and I made a recap video just about 4 minutes from each game. And it's not the best hits and the best plays. It's when our pitchers didn't back up the plate on a potential play there. It's an entire inning of in and out between innings because we had 3 girls walk onto the field and our girls took ground balls in places that were way too close to first base and there was no intent and we made 2 errors to start the inning, right? So like they can do those things and you can tell them, but sometimes taking a step back and realizing like it doesn't always have to be physical work. Like we're taking 30 minutes to have a team meeting of video analysis and going over what it looks like and showing them like, hey, when you have bad body language and you walk, this is what it looks like to the other team. Like there's nothing intimidating about this. There's nothing elite about the way that it looks. So this is all the things that we struggled with or need to go through that video analysis. We're adapting our visualization just based on age to be more hands-on and less eyes closed, more eyes open. So we're going to try something there. And really, they're just hitting the whole time. But during that time that they're hitting for an hour and a half, I'm pulling in pitchers and we're having a meeting with all pitchers and catchers to talk through setups and pitch calling and what we need to hear between the innings and like what we need to know pregame and like all the things for them. Then we have a 15-minute meeting with infielders. Then we have a 15-minute meeting with outfielders. Individual meetings for literally 1 minute of giving them their power phrase for the weekend. And then talking at the end of just being them within us, like understanding your role or playing your part and not having to be the star or the queen every single time, right? So sometimes like the best thing we can do is less, honestly. Like it's fun to fit as much as you can into a practice and get a lot accomplished. And those are great. But there's also times to take a step back and recognize that relationships are the most important thing. So taking time to actually talk to the players about what they're doing, and get them on the same page of at least their plan going into a weekend can be extremely beneficial. The hard part is as a coach, you feel like you're not doing anything during that time. And really, like you're doing the most important thing, but you don't feel like you're teaching or you're getting as much done in practice. So it's hard to take the time to do it. But especially if you're going to be trapped inside with two tunnels and eight other teams there, like take time to talk to your players, take time to see where they're at and get on the same page and figure out what the best moves are moving forward. So different throughout, but a couple that are regular practice plans, one that's an indoor that I've put in there for you guys to have access to as well.
That's some good stuff, gentlemen. I think that what I heard from both Adam and Jake, and I hope that everybody kind of pulls out of it, is that while they have a basic structure, every practice has a different focus and different outcome that they're working towards. And that way it keeps things fresh, not only for the coaches, but it also keeps things fresh for the players. And I think the other thing too is that I heard both of them say that we need to make sure that we give kids the power to make their own decisions. And sometimes that means that they fail, but that's how we can teach. And when they fail, that relationship that Jake was just talking about is absolutely critical because so much of what we do as coaches on the field and how we work with players is built around trust and that, you've got their back and they've got your back. And so I think that's really, really important to highlight all of that. Tony just used the group chat, so he said he has something he wants to say. Go for it, B.
Yeah, and I know Adam and Jake are saying, "Oh shit, here goes V," and probably Rob. Rob, you are too. But I just the guys on this phone. I just want to reiterate this. I mean, you just seen obviously Adam and Jake know baseball to a T, but you just seen and heard why their teams are highly regarded as very successful teams. It's because of their structure and organization. I know Adam has texted you guys or group me or whatever we call that thing about sending practice plans to me. The ones that have sent them, they've been outstanding so far, but I don't think those are the guys that we need to really worry about, right? So they were talking about, Adam was talking earlier about retention. I think that goes two ways, retention of coaches and really business wise retention of players, right? And there's no better way to retain players than to be structured and organized. I don't know of a good, successful coach that can make a practice plan right before practice and try to, try to perform it right. It takes planning as they do. For example, like tomorrow's practice for Ron Colley has already been group meet to players and coaches, so everybody is structured and organized. And please understand that players, more importantly, right now, parents, they know when you're not structured and organized, and that's where the retention comes in, and those type of things. So they're here for you. I'm here for you. I appreciate the people that have sent so far their practice plans to me. They've been outstanding. I try to reply back to you guys, and I know our season's starting at Roncalli, but I'm here to help too. If I can get a day away and help you structure or watch practice and say good job or suggest a couple other things. That's what we're here for. And I appreciate you guys, Adam, Jake, Rob, putting this together because this is awesome. And it's just, my wife just walked by and I'm like, I absolutely love this shit, right? This is round table baseball discussion. So good work.
Yep.
Yep. I'm going to add one thing to that again, just to kind of reiterate something that I said at the beginning. Where this initial the idea for this meeting came up was on Tuesday. Me, Rob, Jake, and Jake were all kind of talking, and one of the things that we discussed was that we're very aware that we ask more of coaches than any other organization out there. And I know I can't only imagine how difficult that is from all the things that we ask you guys to do, along with the time-consuming lives that you already have. So I want to reiterate again that like we are happy to, again, you have the autonomy to practice and do whatever you want to do. But if it's easier for you guys to have like a load taken off of your backs to where like we are writing the practice plan like every week of like, hey, this is what could be a really good thing to work on at this point in the season for any team. Like what like I plan on doing that going forward, like we're Jake and I are going to try to upload our practice plans at the beginning of the week to where we're uploading like what we're doing and what we're focusing on. And like literally, if it's easier for you guys to just take that, change the header to the team that you guys are coaching and send that out, please do that. We want to take a load off your guys' back. And obviously we want really good practice and really good structured movements while we're on the field. But I think that we can help take care of that for you. Again, you do not have to use our practice plans, but we want to give you as much autonomy as we can, but lean on us for as much as we possibly can, especially since you guys are kind of out there on your own. Now we're not all in the facility together, so we're here to help with whatever we can. So with that, any questions about these practice plans, or open it up to any questions about any other topics that you guys might have?
At least on the infield side too, all of the positional plans are in there. So anything that you guys want to use from those different sequences or drill structures, that kind of stuff, feel free. And if you're like, you want to do a team defense type drill and you know what you want to get out of it, but you're not entirely sure what drill best fits, like that's probably where I'm the most useful is like creativity of drill structure. So if there's something you definitely want to get in, you just don't know how, shoot it my way. I would love to help with how to structure it or how to maximize time, space, whatever that looks like.
And I think the last thing that I'd like to offer in is just that you can see that the way that Jake and Adam structure these is that none of the drills, none of the routines are done just for the sake of doing a drill or a routine. It's all very intentional. And I think that your players see that, your parents certainly see that. If you just say, "Hey, we're just going to go hit for a while," okay, well, what are you going to accomplish during that hitting session? Be intentional. Don't just do it just to do it. So I think that's critical. The only question we had come in was actually about modern leads. I know we are way over time. We got started a little bit late tonight, just waiting for people to come on in. But if you want to hang around for a little bit, Adam, I think has a couple of thoughts on just how best to incorporate modern leads into a practice. And he did address the fact that it's got to be done routinely and consistently. But I think the other aspect of it is just what are some drills? How do we accomplish that? If there are any other questions, now's your time to either unmute or type in the group chat. We'll give you 30 seconds or so to do that, and then Adam will take the reins with Modern Lead.
Sure. Yeah, and you guys can hop off anytime you want or stay on as long as you want. We'll talk. I'm just chilling here. I got money on Italy, so I think they're gonna win this game. So, so I'm just chilling here. Got that on in the background, and while we talk baseball and everything.
Go Italians.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. So, hey, before you jump in here, Adam, Coach Brown would like to know how you build a practice plan to make sure that a lineup of your 1 through 6 hitters all hit 425 or better.
I think that all depends on the game changer guy.
Right,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, you got to pay
That's
off
all
the
it
game
takes.
changer guy.
Yeah.
One good game changer
Um,
guy, you're fine.
It's
Yeah.
I actually don't have an answer about the 425, but I actually had this conversation with somebody recently about like you put one Christian, you put 1 through 6 in there, and that kind of makes me laugh
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's an important number for me as a coach. So one of the things I always joke about, but it's a real thing with our team, is that the idea of like, hey, if you hit, you don't sit. And like obviously when we're in a situation where we have more than 9 players on a team, and we have to try to get everybody plenty of development time. One of the very clear things that I point out to our families at the beginning of the year, so they know how playing time is really going to be decided for us, is from an offensive perspective. For me, if you are in on a regular basis in the top 1 through 6 of important offensive categories that I find important, and that doesn't necessarily mean like you have to be in the top 6 of batting average, right? I'm very concise, clear about what I find to be like a productive offensive player for us. If you're one of the top 1 through 6, you're in the lineup every day, no matter what, right? If you are 7 through 10, right, or below that, that 7 through 10 is a continuous rotation of nearly equal playing time of people that fall below that 1 through 6 of the things that I find most important. And that allows for players that are not necessarily in the lineup every day to still get consistent playing time and get a consistent opportunity to try to work their way into that top 1 through 6, if that makes sense. So it's like, how am I going to continue to structure a lineup every single day? Again, I'm very clear to them. It's like, hey, why am I not playing every day? You're outside of this 1 through 6 of like the most important things that I find that I find is, of an offensive player. You're going to continue to see regular playing time. If you want to be getting every day, you're going to have to bump past this 1 through 6. Otherwise, you're going to be this continuous rotation unless it's a must-win game. And I think you're in like the top 7 through 10. So for me, it's on base percentage, contact percentage. If you don't understand our run game, you're basically never going to be in our 1 through 6, even if you have our best batting average. If you're a station to station person, you're holding up everybody else in the lineup for us. When I say like running bases, I don't necessarily mean like you have to steal bases. We're very good at getting pitchers to walk players just by using bluffs and getting kids to make the pitcher think about them. So it's like there's some offensive things that I find very important. If you are doing those things on a regular basis, you're in the top 1 through 6. And so that's why that number stood out to me. So um, let's see here,
Yeah.
George. Yeah,
And I was going to say that both Coach Denise and Coach Walters both were asking specifically about what metrics you're using.
yeah,
So you talked about on base
yeah.
percentage
Yeah.
and
On
some of
base
that.
percentage, slugging percentage obviously helps. Like batting average is going to play a key part to that too as well. But like I think a lot of parents, especially if you accidentally leave your game changer stats wide open, they will just look at it and say, well, this batting average is higher than this. So why is this person playing? Like, first of all, don't leave your stats open to the public. Like, just allow the family member to see their own individual one. But for me, it's again, you have to understand the running game and how we're going to operate our offense. On base percentage, contact percentage, hard hit ball percentage is another one that I focus on heavily. Batting average is obviously in there too, but and strikeouts. If you're doing well in all of those categories, for me, when you go back to like I can, without putting people into the actual win formula, predict very closely not only who's at the highest, but in what order they are, just from years of doing it at this point. So those are the things that are most important to me for an offense. If you need more doubles, more a higher batting average is more important than other things, like by all means, it's whatever you think makes your offense churn more. But those are the ones most important to me.
The
Good.
goal is
Another
dynamic
question. Oh, go ahead.
offense. So total bases, however you're stacking them, that could be in your
Mm,
hits, like traditional total bases. That could be in the accumulation of total bases and stolen bases,
Yep.
right? So if you go into the classroom and you go into the win rating sheet, literally everything that tracks from an offensive standpoint is primarily those top 6 categories. It will also add in the defensive side, which I would say up the middle of the field, there's a little bit of wiggle room unless you have 20 dudes, right? And some of us do, and that's awesome. But if you don't, there's a little bit of wiggle room to be a lower offensive performer if you are a higher defensive performer behind the plate, shortstop, center field. Outside of those, you better hit. Like it's just the
Somebody.
reality. You got to hit.
Yep.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So somebody's asking, like, do we have any of those in the classroom? I will put something together of kind of how I utilize that, as well as some example sort of lineups as far as what we like. But like on base percentage is just so big. If you're a good base running team, again, that doesn't mean you have to steal all the bases. That's a big part of it. But if you're a really good base running team, stack as many quality AB guys and girls and on base percentage guys and girls towards the top. I don't care if you don't have to have a power. We don't have a power hitter in our three hole for our 2017. The guy, it's Carson Bland. He might not hit one home run between high school and travel, right? But he does everything that I want from a three hole hitter, from a high contact percentage and hard hit ball percentage. If our first two guys in front of him are getting on and running well, I know Karsten does not strike out. And I know that if he gets the bat on the ball and puts it in play, he has one of the highest hard hit ball percentages. Doesn't mean he slugs more. That's just what I like from a three hole hitter. If our top one, two are my cup of tea and running the bases and getting on base a lot. So, but I'll put a little bit of a summary into that. Let's see
Might
here.
be good to take one of these weeks and go through
Sure.
Oh,
the post
absolutely.
game stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
practice stuff is great. We're all about to start games, so going through what, not just like how to track it, but like what you can actually take from it
Sure.
from week to
This
week
is
would be
gonna
good.
churn up more conversations than we could possibly ever imagine, which is what I love
Yeah,
about it.
well, between that and I
Absolutely.
see Jordan put something in about first and third
Yep.
place, like that's a whole week,
Yeah,
realistically. Like I would love to go into that. That's a whole nother 30 to 45 minutes
sure.
to
I
talk
am going to
through all
answer
those.
briefly on that because Jordan texted me and I said like my explanation of the question he had was going to be way too hard to text and more easy to answer in person because he asked me to send the signs and I have signs. We have signs for first and third plays. And so Jordan asked me a question about like, hey, it was asking me like what the signs kind of meant on some of this stuff. And I'll talk through what skunk in the grass is. Like skunk in the grass, you're probably never going to run. It's mostly outlawed at it's outlawed at most
Mhm.
tournaments, but I'll talk about it here in a second. But for us, so when you're given signs at the end of every single time we give a sign, unless I'm just giving a straight take sign, at the end of every series of signs, I feel Jake and I finish our signs out with one of two hand movements, and that's either pounding our fists together, okay, which means a traditional lead, and this is for baseball specific, okay. This is a traditional lead, okay. This is mean getting your normal lead off, right, left, turn, shuffle, shuffle, right. We either finish it with this or we finish it with this, and then we just like hold our palm out and show our palm. If we show our palm, that's our modern lead distance, and they're getting that different type of lead. Because their question is like, with how much we run modern leads and traditional, what lead am I in at this given moment? We always need to tell them that, right? And so we always
Mhm.
finish it with this. This is your in traditional, or this is your in modern. Okay. If there is a lead base runner, if there's a runner on second and a runner on first, the runner on second when you do this would be in modern, but the person behind is going to be in traditional. If there's ever someone in front, they're not getting a jump, right? They're not getting a read. They're only going if that person's going, if that makes sense. But Jordan asked me about like what do the first and third signs mean and has that indicated. So for when there are runners on first and third, for us, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's always a first and third play on. Okay. If we have a specific play that we are going to run on first and third, outside of just trying to steal second, okay, we will indicate that a first and third play is on. So if I finish it just normal like this, we're just in traditional lead. No play is on. If I just do this, okay, we're in a modern lead, right? We're going to try to steal the bag, but no play is specifically on. If we have a play, we have a few different plays that we run. Okay. I will do a traditional lead, but I'll reach down and I'll act like I'm tying my shoe. And that's an indication that we have a play on. Okay. And that's an automatic take for our hitter. Automatic. Okay. So if I started off by tying my shoe, we have a play on. Okay. We're trying to get action from probably both base runners. If I do that and I hold my hands up, that is steal and stop. Okay. You can run this in baseball or softball. Very common play. Everybody's heard that. For our base runner on first base, it's a late jump. Okay. We're getting a jump to try to steal second. When I normally tell our runners, when you see ball flight, that's when you go. Okay. Not before. If it's a super good jump, they might not throw the ball to second. But with steal and stop, we're trying to draw the throw to second base. So it's a late jump. They take off stealing and they stop before they get to second base about 15 feet. Okay. And they're trying to draw the throw to second base to where the person catches it. They're turning, they try to apply the tag. And while they're doing that, the runner from third is braking as they see the ball, cross go over the pitcher's head. Got to double check and see if they're going to cut it, potentially. But if they get that ball to the bag, right, and they turn and they try to tag this person and they're not there, very easy to score from there. And so, but again, that's indicated by we tie our shoe, and it's for us that's what it is. Jake Swats flies. I tie our shoe. Act like I tie my shoe. And I always tell our runners, hey, you're in a rundown here until you're out, you're safe, or you're dead if you're because you're so tired. Okay, that's what I always tell them. Okay, so the next one is just I tie my shoe and I do this. That means walk off. We're just gonna walk off the bag. I know in softball we can't do that because you can't leave early. Okay, but we are trying to get into a rundown situation here, get the ball moving from first to second base in the air, and then making the read from third base about when we make that run. Obviously, when we take off and run, we want it to hopefully be in the position where the ball is furthest away from home plate. If it's being thrown to first base, it's probably going to be harder to be safe. If it's being thrown from first base to second, probably easier to be safe. And then the only other one that we typically run is get picked. Okay, and that's get a lead off of first base that's big enough for a throw over, not big enough for the pitcher to step off and run at you. Okay, it's again big enough to get a throw over and then take off to second, hopefully drawing the throw from the first baseman to second base. On that throw, when we see ball release, runner on third is going. Again, just because we have a runners on first and third does not mean one of these plays is on. But if you want to put that play on, have a specific sign that indicates, hey, this is happening. Hitter, we're taking. For me, take is just put my hand on my chest. Okay, we're not swinging here. We're trying to get action on the bases, and we have a play on. So that hopefully, just Carpenter, I think hopefully that answers the question.
Yep, that is some good stuff, and don't want to keep you guys too much longer because we're running on 10 o'clock here. But Joey just put in the chat about how to use your pitchers effectively and still have your ace available on Sundays and everything. That's actually a topic that I had in mind that for coming week. So either next week or the week after, we will spend time talking specifically about how to use your pitchers effectively throughout the weekend. I think that's a great idea. Any other topics, thoughts, anything like that that you guys have? Feel free to use the respective WhatsApps, and please feel free to ask any of the resources you got. We've got a lot of really great minds in this organization, and we're all here for you. So we want to make sure that we're helping any way we possibly can. Again, I don't want to keep you guys any longer, but I would just like to say thank you for being here. And we plan on doing this again next Monday, same time, same place, and we'll just keep educating and providing resources as much as we can. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you.
Yep. If anybody wants to stay, I'm here.
Yep.
Again,
Absolutely.
I appreciate Rob, emceeing this because we can get as you can see, we blabber a lot and get off topic and just keep going. So, again, don't feel like you got to stay, but if anybody's got anything or any questions, like we're here.
Hey, the goal of these every week is that we will download the recording and put it into the Futures app under its own section. So that way, if you guys do have to miss one of these, totally fine. But if it's content or a topic that you were interested in, there should be a way for you to be able to watch that back and bring questions that next week if you have them. So hopefully this week works on the recording side. This is the first time that we're taking a Zoom and putting it into Futures app, but it should be pretty straightforward. So should have that uploaded tomorrow.
Cool. The only other thing I'd ask you guys to do is just make sure you tell your assistant coaches, head coaches, make sure everybody knows that we actually were serious about putting this out there and we want to be productive. So invite everybody to be here.
Appreciate y'all.
Yep. Thanks.